The other day, I encountered an online photo of a painting by Vincent van Gogh. I really enjoy his work, and for several minutes, I sat transfixed by the feelings provoked by the creative expression I was seeing. My heart was lifted. I was inspired not only by the visual image, but by my awareness that such an image could spring from the mind and heart of a human being. Almost impossible to me. I thought, how could this be? I couldn't begin to produce such a thing, not if I spent a lifetime doing it. But right in front of me was undeniable evidence that somebody could. And this particular man was emotionally tortured for so much of his life. Somehow, in ways I can only glimpse, this particular artist used and transcended his pain to explode his soul onto a canvas. Still freaks me out. The stories vary, but at most, Van Gogh sold maybe 2 or 3 paintings or sketches. The accounts are different. And didn't begin to generate enough income even to feed himself. Imagine. But his paintings now have sold for as much as $82 million for one. Kind of incomprehensible, isn't it? It occurred to me that while a Van Gogh is worth millions to some people, to one of my younger grandchildren, for example, it would be worth less than a movie download, a few dollars. If I asked one of them, what would you pay for this Van Gogh original? I don't know, a couple dollars maybe, put it on their wall. So what's a Van Gogh really worth? Well, it depends on who's buying it. This is really important. It depends on who's buying it. Now, a Van Gogh original is worth nothing to me because I enjoy just seeing pictures of them. But I am willing to spend some of my invaluable time being inspired by examining and even inhaling one. I told this story one day to a mother, who then later turned it into a teaching moment with her son, Jesse. One day he came home from school in an obvious mood, and Mom asked him what was wrong. Predictably, he said, "Nothing." They go to a school where they're trained to say nothing in response to the first question about anything. Mom was wise enough not to back away from his rebuff. She took his hand and led him to a chair and sat him down. Then she moved another chair so that she could sit directly in front of him. She said, "Something happened at school, and I'd love to hear about it." Now pay attention to her tone. I know something happened. I'd love to hear about it. Not, tell me what happened at school. Yeah, that you're just going to get more. Nothing if you do that. Jesse said that a kid at school, Merrick, had made fun of him. Hardly an unusual event at school. Mom was wise and said, "Doesn't feel very good, does it?" Now notice, no tone of sympathy, no outrage, no, let's find the kid and throw him in jail. No, just, that doesn't feel very good, does it? Jesse shook his head as Mom continued. So Mom said, "Would you say that Merrick thinks that you are worthwhile and valuable, or not worthwhile and not valuable?" And Jesse said, "Not." "I think you're right," Mom said. He doesn't value you. He doesn't think you're worthwhile. So now we get to decide whether Merrick's opinion of you matters. Well, Jesse didn't see this coming, and it's pretty clever on Mom's part. Mom said, "Who knows you better, Merrick or me?" "You," Jesse said. He knows a lesson's coming. He just doesn't know what it is. "And who knows you better?" Mom says. "Merrick or God?" "God," Jesse says. He's still a little wary of the upcoming lesson. "And what do God and I think of you?" Mom said. Jesse smiled for the first time in the conversation because he could see the lesson coming. He said, "You both love me." A lot? Mom went, like describing a fish, a lot, or a little. Well, now he's got a bigger smile because we're playing a game. He said, a whole lot, and put his arms as far out as he could. Mom said, so God and I know you, and we think that you're a pretty astonishing and amazing human being. You have a generous soul. You bring a light into the world. You light up a room when you come into the room. You're worth a lot to us. You're worth a lot to me, to your dad, to God, and to a few other people. So whose opinion would matter most? Merrick's, who doesn't know you at all, or ours? Well, Jesse was on fire now. He said, yours, your opinion. In fact, Mom said, Merrick doesn't know you at all. All he knows is that you don't give him something he wants. In some way, you don't make him feel better. Maybe you don't make him feel more powerful. Maybe you don't make him feel approved of. So he thinks you're worthless. He makes fun of you so that he can feel better about himself, so he can feel stronger. His opinion is blind because he doesn't see you, selfish, he only thinks about himself, and worthless because he doesn't know you. What do you think? Is that true? Jesse said, yeah, I guess it is. So now the next time, Mom said, that Merrick makes fun of you, what can you do? Now, this is really important lesson for a parent to teach a child. When a child's getting picked on, we say, oh, I feel so sorry for you. That's useless. Teach the truth, and then what can the child do? And Jesse said, well, I can remember that you know me better, and so does God, and you think I'm pretty great. So whatever Merrick says doesn't really matter. Mom said, perfect. Yes, that's right. And what could you say to Merrick when he teases you? And what's Mom doing here? Helping him to come up with a snappy retort? No, giving him the confidence to respond. Predictably, Jesse said, I don't know, because he doesn't know how to respond to teasing. Mom said, here are some things you might say. You could say, when he says some snotty thing to you, interesting opinion. That's it. That usually shuts a bully up. Not always, but that's one. Mom's just offering options so that he feels more confident. Or you could say, I guess you don't know me very well. That one's pretty clever. Unfortunate for you. That's got a little wit to it. That might make a difference. It might make it worse. She's just giving him options. Or, Mom says, you could say nothing. Nothing at all. Just don't act like he hasn't spoken to you, remembering that his opinion doesn't really matter. He matters. I'm not saying Merrick is worthless or bad, but his opinion of you is worthless because he doesn't know who you are. Jesse felt quite different the next day at school, and when Merrick said something unkind to him, which was fairly predictable, he handled it beautifully. And it doesn't really matter what particular thing he chose to say to him. We must be willing and able to teach our children how to handle the negative opinions that other people might have of them, because such opinions will be expressed not only when they're children, but when they're older. Our children need to be ready for these opinions and these expressions, these teasings, this bullying even. They need to be ready and see them for what they are. Relatively meaningless. Really an expression of the unhappiness of the unkind person, and not a true valuation of our child.